I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Ask you all to read the civility and decorum at the top of the agenda. I'm not going to read it to you. The meeting is being recorded and televised, just so you know that. At this time, can we have roll call, please, Madam Secretary?
Ms. Bilby? Here. Mr. Fedorcho?
Here.
Ms. Husak? Here. Ms. Culp?
Here.
Ms. Snyder?
Here.
No one.
Ms. Thompson?
Here.
Mr. Weber?
Here. No.
Ms. Williams? Mr. Green?
Here.
We have a quorum.
So they don't want to come, but they're here. Yeah. Okay. I'm looking at the list and I see no one who has requested public comment at this time, so we'll bypass that. Okay, you've all received copies of the meetings. Is there a motion to approve the meetings as listed?
So moved.
A motion, is there a second? Thank you. Discussion or questions, additions? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. And the minutes are approved. So let's move to special board reports, CLIU. Ms. Husak.
Not too much to report. We did have our December meeting. There is a new holiday video that is posted, as well as a video for the 50th anniversary of the IDA programs. So feel free to go visit the website for information on those. Coming up and on the budget, or on the agenda, will be the general operating budget. Our district would have no change as a general increase to the IU. That's all I have.
Thank you. LCTI, Mr. Fedorcha.
Thank you. Reorganization meeting, we did not have much action. Other than that, we did do our budget presentation, which again, as I said last month, went out to the administration here as to all the schools. We will take action in our January meeting to approve it from the LCTI board. It then has to go to each individual school district, and each individual school district must vote on the budget. Other than that, we elected a new chairperson. Audrey Matheson from Allentown is our new chair, and I'm happy to say that I am the vice chair.
Congratulations.
So that's all I have to report right now, sir.
Well, congratulations, sir.
Unless our superintendent also attends as superintendent of record. I don't know if you have anything additional.
Just that we will be having our county-wide superintendent's meeting this Thursday at LCTI, where as a group of superintendents will also be discussing the proposed budget for LCTI and its impact on descending school districts.
Okay. Thank you both. Anything?
No, nothing this evening.
Nothing? Okay, our meeting is the first Thursday, which happened to be New Year's Day this year, so we did not have a meeting. So we'll be having our meeting this Thursday, so I have really no report. You've all received copies of the, did I miss? Oh, I thought you were pointing at something. The committee meetings? Any questions on any of the reports? Anywhere? No? Okay. We're ready.
Good evening, everyone. We hope you all had an amazing winter break. So tonight, me and Maddie will be discussing the end of the semester events as well as sports. So in the beginning of December, our student leadership team opened our school store. Dr. Raleigh and Mr. McCarty worked with students on the leadership team to create this exciting new store. So Riley Scholl, someone on the leadership team, worked with Ronnie Kuntz to order the merchandise. It's open and available during lunch and learn in the lobby. They sell items such as pajamas, hoodies, coffee cups, lanyards, and bracelets. We applaud the student leadership team in their determination to make our school a better place. Winter Keystone testing sessions was a tremendous success, with 3 full days of testing conducted last week. Students demonstrated a strong work ethic and benefited greatly from the newly implemented testing schedule. Most students participated asynchronously. Those scheduled to test reported in person to the high school, and we experienced very few student absences across all testing sessions. Feedback from staff and students was overwhelmingly positive. In addition to the testing, all students participated in lunch and learn during each testing day. which provided staff with meaningful opportunities to connect and offer targeted support. We are grateful for the school board's continued support for our testing schedule, which has played a crucial role in creating a positive and productive testing environment. On the 19th, which is Monday, schools will be closed for Martin Luther King Day. And then next week as well, Student Council will be holding a winter blood drive on Tuesday, the 20th, from 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. in the high school gym. With Miller Keystone Blood Center, you must be at least 16 years old to donate, and you also may need a appointment to donate as well. We hope that everyone considers donating. And finals for the first semester are next week. Block 1 and 2 are on Wednesday, the 21st, and Block 3 and 4 are on Thursday, the 22nd. The second semester, as well as new classes, begin on Friday, the 23rd. And that's all I have for tonight, and now on to Maddie with more school events and sports.
Thank you, Olivia. So with the end of the first semester quickly approaching, many of the math and English departments are preparing to do their final IXL testing. National Honor Society will induct new members on January 27th at 6 p.m. in the high school auditorium. Theater season is now in full swing, and the theater cast and crew are working tirelessly to give an amazing spring musical. This year's musical is Anastasia. It will be performed between March 12th to the 15th, and tickets are available for purchase on the Northern Lehigh website. Senior night for girls basketball will be against Jim Thorpe on January 30th, followed by the boys senior night against Providence on February 3rd. Now speaking of basketball, Tegan Sims, a junior, just reached her 1,000 career points last Saturday against Bangor. Kellen Bauer, also a junior, should get his 1,000 career points very soon, just being 20 points away. This is an incredible feat for both Kellen and Tegan to accomplish and shows their hard work and dedication to both their sport and team. Congrats to both of them. Our current sports standings are girls basketball with a 6-5, where their next game will be against Catasauqua on January 13th at home. Boys basketball is 5-10, with their next game being against Caddy on January 13th, which is away. Girls wrestling is 4-2, and their next meet will be against Lehigh on January 14th, which is away. And boys wrestling is 1-3, and their next meet will be against Lehigh as well on January 14th, away. That is all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for the lady?
Musical?
Yes.
How about yourself?
I also am, but I'm not like performing, but I'm doing like the background.
That's great. Well-rounded. Thank you.
Thank you both.
Thank you.
You are free to stay. You are free to go engage in other activities tonight.
Gee, I wonder why they're leaving. Okay, we got F. Where are we at here? G, Superintendent's Report. Dr. Link.
Thank you, Mr. Green. So this evening, I'd like to begin my report by handing over some time to representatives from, representatives from our high school esports team. This evening, we have Mrs. Crystal Tiedelman, Mrs. Janelle Scheckler, the advisors, and then 10th grader, sophomore, Jomar Ortiz is here as well, one of the team members. I know you've had an exciting season with some strong competition, so I'll kind of turn it over to the three of you if you'd like to share a little bit about all things esports at Northern Lehigh High School.
So our esports teams this year, we just completed our fall season. Our spring season starts next week, so we already have students signed up to compete. For the fall season, it was our first competition for a lot of the titles, but our students did very well. We made it to playoffs in 2 out of the 4 titles, and we made it to finals in the Rocket League title. So we got to take our students to Harrisburg. They competed in person there, and they did a fantastic job. Our team captain was unfortunately in Dubai at the time because the Esports League changed the competition dates after they had booked their trip. So that hurt our team a little bit, but that just made them more determined to place again this season so that we have a second chance at competing in person in finals. John, would you like to say anything about esports?
It's a fun experience at that, and it's a great way to make new friends.
Jomar competes in a couple of titles for us. So he does a fantastic job, and hopefully with a few more years with us, we'll get him to compete in finals too. So that would be nice.
So thank you, the three of you, for coming and sharing a little bit about esports. I'm happy to hear the success that you've had. You've made it into the playoffs, actually into the finals, and I think it was Rocket League, you said. And you know, hopefully that does encourage into the spring. So I do have a question for the three of you. I know that esports has been with us now, I think, for almost 3 years.
I think as part of the athletics department, yes. This is our 3rd year. Prior to that, it was considered a club.
Okay, and what would you say are, from season to season, about the average participation rate? So how many members?
So I think it's tough because like right now we have 30 students that are involved,
Okay.
but the teams, you know, are limited. So we have maybe 24 students that are actually competing. It depends, like Fortnite only allows 2 students to compete at a time.
Okay.
So we can have a bunch of alternates, but we really want to lead with our best competitors. So that's kind of what restricts us. But we usually have around 20 to 30 students involved. If we got brave enough to have multiple teams running simultaneously, which is what we started to try to do with the second coach, we can probably start to expand that. The hard part is the league is new also. So over the past few years, we've seen a lot of changes with things like, you know, Rocket League is always going to be on Tuesdays, and then the season starts and, oh, it's on Monday. And the downside to that is that a lot of our students will block their schedules through their employers and say, well, I can only work these days, so then we might lose some kids, we might see some, or, you know, we have conflicts with other activities. Well, I'm in the musical, we practice every Thursday, then they're not available for the competition. So that's kind of what impacts how many students we have involved. Also, the fact that this isn't something that we have established at lower grades yet is, you know, by the time they get to high school, we're getting a lot of juniors and seniors who are interested in trying to get recruited to college teams or to get scholarships. So we don't have as many freshmen and sophomores that are getting involved because they're not thinking that way yet. They want to play video games for fun. They're not as invested in playing them for competition. So I think, you know, if we were to open up, they do have a middle school league through PSEL. If we were to open up something at a lower level, we would have those students more used to competing on a team, so that then our high school program would probably grow.
Okay, so you've shared a lot there, all like really
Yeah,
good.
sorry.
No. And I say that meaning what I'm hearing is this is starting to quickly shadow as far as participation rates and opportunities. I heard you say there's collegiate scholarships available, or even a career pathway. I just added that in there. You didn't actually say that. But there's opportunities beyond just competition, right? Maybe most importantly is what Jomar said about, I get to meet and make new friends, right? Either in person with our teammates or perhaps even virtually with competitors from other school districts. What do you need, or what would be helpful from administration or the school board for continued success, or even to perhaps potentially push it down into the middle level when we're ready?
So I think that's a tough question. Actually, Mr. Hill and I were talking at the beginning of the meeting about how our setup is a little different than some other districts, but how that might actually work better for us. Some districts have these very elaborate esports labs that they've invested a ton of money into, but if they don't have the coach or if the students don't have the right timeline or transportation, those labs are sitting there empty. Our students have been competing from home using their own technology, their own devices, and if they don't have access to that, then we provide it for them. The downside to that is we are as fast as their internet connections versus, you know, having something in the building that would allow us to provide that. So I think those are conversations that we kind of have to have in terms of like the technology department, in terms of the individual players and where their comfort levels are, and see how we could grow that way. I think what made the biggest difference for our kids this year was being recognized more as an actual team. Getting that recognition on the dog dish, having some other staff members kind of congratulate them when we share out their success. We really would like to see something simple like jerseys. We've looked into that, trying to figure out how we can make something like that possible, because it is a team sport. These kids really do have to rely on each other, and it would be nice for them after a win to come in wearing their jerseys and be able to say, you know, I'm part of a team that has qualified for states and that sort of thing. So those little things in the beginning, we are incredibly grateful for the Nintendo Switches that we received and the games that we have that students like Dermar can borrow if they need to. And we're hoping to continue to grow the program that way. Most of the games, the titles that are selected for the league, are free to play. But there are just a handful that you have to pay them for the game in order to compete, and that's something that we don't feel our students should have to pay to play. So having the titles that we have to accommodate a full team, so that if a student doesn't have it on their own, we can provide it, that has been a huge help as well. As the league continues to expand those titles, that's something else that we'll have to look into. The beginning of this year, they kind of tossed in a brand new title for us, Marvel Rivals. We had some students that were already playing this. There's stuff called download content. So some of you may know what that is, but for the rest of you, it's basically like someone can play with a more expensive football, and if our kids don't have the money to download that expensive football, then they're playing with, you know, less adequate equipment. Those types of things are still being negotiated in the league. Like I said, the league is so new that, you know, when we notice discrepancies, like, well, it's not equitable to say that they can play with a character that they've paid for, but our kids don't have access to the paid characters. Should we not allow the paid characters to compete, and if all students have to use only the base game characters? So we're having those types of conversations. But yeah, I think the support, just that the interest, the acknowledgement that what these kids are doing takes skill, takes talent, takes practice and time, that's the most valuable until we have those conversations about equipment and access.
So that's very helpful to administration as we kind of plan what do we need to plan for budget-wise moving forward. Because I do agree that the team should be treated as a varsity sport. I think you've proven that you're ready. You're going to state competitions already, and I think this is something that we need to take some responsibility for and continue to plan forward. So thank you for that. Jamar, thank you for coming in and sharing your experience tonight. I wish you best of luck in the spring season, and you know, hopefully we can have you back, if not at the end of the spring season, maybe next fall again for another update. So I appreciate everything you're doing. Thank you for spending some time with us this evening, and I'll open it up to the board if they have any questions or comments.
I like your jersey idea because it's a team, and that's what represents a team. So there might be some way we can make that happen.
Thank you very much. Have a great rest of the night. And again, you're all welcome to stay, or you can move on to other things as well. Also, I would like to share this evening that this past Thursday evening, I had the pleasure of attending the science fair at Slatington Elementary School, proudly sponsored by the Northern Lehigh PTO. We have an officer with us this evening, so thank you for doing that. It was wonderful to see our Slatington Elementary students sharing their projects and explaining their work to peers, parents, and judges. The evening was judged by Mrs. Binder and Mr. Fritz, two of our Slatington Elementary School teachers, along with special guest judge and school board member, Mr. Tim Weber. The evening provided an ideal opportunity for our young scientists to walk others through their designs, hypothesis, outcomes, and data, while also practicing valuable public speaking skills in a supportive setting. The list of winners is as follows. In third grade, Joel Stevens earned third place for his project on water filtration. Savannah Hittinger took second place with her experiment on elephant toothpaste. First place was awarded to Luke Gross for his project exploring the seasons in different hemispheres. In fourth grade, Olivia George received second place for her volcano experiment, and Garrett Gurnett earned first place for his project on the strength of a magnet. And in fifth grade, Javion Clinton received third place for his robotic arm project. Evan Baker earned second place for his investigation into his crested gecko's favorite food. And there was a tie for first place between Ryan Kirkpatrick, who tested the 5-second rule. that was interesting. And Owen Gross, who examined the damaging effects of drinking soda. So kudos to all of our young scientists. It was a great evening. And I felt fortunate to be able to hear some of the presenters give their presentations. So again, thank you to the faculty and Mr. Weber, and thank you to our PTO officers, the whole PTO program. Katja, thank you for being there as well.
This is actually the fourth year that we've hosted the science fair. And I think the projects kind of get more and more creative every year. It's cool to see, but we would really love it to be somewhat bigger. So we have been trying to discuss with the science teachers how we can kind of grow it a little bit. There are a couple different ideas, but I think it's fun, it's a good time, and it gives some of the kids who don't otherwise have an outlet through sports or other types of hobbies to get involved in something. So.
Yeah. Well said. I fully agree. And I'm going to lean on our resident newspaper writer here, Mr. Honor, to maybe celebrate these young scientists as well as our esports team. Thank you very much. And that concludes my report this evening, Mr. Green.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anything this evening?
Nothing, thank you.
Nothing? Thank you. I think it's your turn.
Thank you. This evening, we'd like to say thank you to our school board, and in honor of School Board Recognition Month, you'll see library books that are sitting in front of each of our school board members. These books will be donated to our school libraries on your behalf. And so we have Ms. Tiedman that's going to speak about our secondary libraries, and then I have some information from our elementary librarian for some thank yous that they'd like to share this evening.
I'm not going to say as much this time. Just thank you very much for your support of the libraries and the library programs. They are an incredible space in our buildings. They have wonderful resources, and I'd really love to see them utilized to the extent that we possibly could. We greatly appreciate the books that you have donated for us. They'll be processed with care and placed on the shelves for many, many students to interact with. I want to say that the book that was selected for the elementary school, The Day You Begin, that's right there, is one that I read to my high school students. So these books definitely impact K through 12. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Tiedman. And from Mrs. Rachel D'Amico, our elementary librarian, dear Northern Lehigh School Board members, I'd like to thank you for your generous book donations to the Peters and Slatington Elementary Libraries. The selected books support empathy and inclusion, individuality and self-acceptance, bravery and adventure, and exploration of history and science. New books are always exciting, and I'm sure our students are looking forward to reading them. This year, in addition to connecting with literature, our elementary students are increasing their digital literacy and media awareness skills, completing research projects, exploring careers, budgeting, and engaging in hands-on STEM or STEAM activities. These learning experiences help build a foundation for lifelong learning and reading. Thank you for your continued commitment to our students and school community. Best regards, Rachel D'Amico. So on behalf of all of the stakeholders in our school district, we'd like to thank you, especially during January, during Board Appreciation Month, for all that you do and the tireless hours that you put into being school board members. Okay, and now we'll shift gears a little bit, and we'll jump into our annual school board presentation of our data. Good evening and welcome to Northern Lehigh School District's presentation of our annual state assessment data. Tonight's annual data presentation is pretty comprehensive and we have a significant amount of information to share with you. We anticipate the presentation will take approximately 1 hour to move through all of the data. With that said, in order to help us stay on track and ensure we're able to present the information in a clear and cohesive way, we ask that all questions be held to the end of the entire presentation, and we will make sure to allow time for questions and discussions once we've concluded. Thank you in advance for your patience and attention. This is Northern Lehigh School District's administrative presentation of the 24-25 state assessment data. This includes last year's state assessment data, as we have not yet completed all of this year's state testing yet. Northern Lehigh School District has 4 schools. Peters Elementary is about 5 miles down the road and serves grades K through 2. All of our other schools are on the main campus. Slatington Elementary houses students in grades 3 through 6, our middle school grades 7 and 8, and our high school grades 9 through 12. Our enrollment as of October 1st of 2024 was 1,628 students. Of those, 125 students attended LCTI. We also had 115 students enrolled in charter schools. Our student group data shows that 41.4% of our students at the time were economically disadvantaged, 3.7% were English language learners, 19.5% received special education services, 1.1% were considered homeless, and 3.8% were military connected. We now have a better system for tracking students in the foster care system, so next time we will report in that area as well. 51% of students were male, 49% were female, and with regard to race and ethnicity on the right-hand side of the slide, you can see the breakdown of students. 0.1% was American Indian or Alaskan Native, 0.7% were considered Asian, 2.4% considered Black, 0.1% Native Hawaiian or other Pacific Islander, 19.2% Hispanic, 73.7% white, and 3.9% identify as 2 or more races. Before we begin to discuss Northern Lehigh School District's assessment data, we'd like to ask you to jot down any questions you have and hold those to the end. If you could reference the slide, that would be extremely helpful. Next is more information on the composition of the state assessment system that we will be discussing this evening. Years ago, Pennsylvania transitioned away from a single school performance profile, or SPP score, and now utilizes a dashboard approach for presenting data and building level data through Future Ready PA Index. This slide explains the reasons for that change. I'm not going to spend a lot of time going through this slide in detail, as it's something that we present annually. However, they include use of more varied indicators related to preparing students for post-secondary success, transparency of achievement and growth, especially with regard to subgroups, and having a system that is easy to navigate. Also discussed in previous years is that there are 3 main tabs within the Future Ready PA Index. They include the following: statewide assessment measures, on-track measures, and college and career readiness measures. On this slide are the lists of indicators that are included in each of those areas. State assessment measures include percent proficient or advanced on PSSA or Keystone exams in math, ELA, and science, meeting annual growth expectations via PVAS system, and proficient of solely advanced on the same state tests as listed earlier. On-track measures include English language proficiency, chronic absenteeism or regular attendance, and early indicators of success in reading, which Pennsylvania has selected as grade 3, and in math, which PA has defined as grade 7. College and career measures include graduation rate, career readiness benchmark, industry-based learning, rigorous courses of study like the AP courses, and post-secondary transition to school, military, or work. Some indicators apply to all students, while others only apply to some schools or cohorts of students, all release data can be examined by visiting the state's public site at futurereadypa.org. Before we begin to examine the data, it's important to make you aware of some information and changes that are happening for this year and on the horizon. On this slide, you see the tested subjects and performance categories. Science is changing. 23-24 was the last year that students took science PSSAs in 4th grade. Starting in 24-25, students took the science PSSAs in 5th grade instead. Due to the updated science standards adopted in Pennsylvania, newly aligned science questions were developed and administered in 24-25. With the permission of the United States Department of Education, assessment scores in science were waived as part of the field test process. Therefore, only participation rates are reported for science on the index for the 24-25 school year. The Keystone exam has also changed. Through the winter of 2024, the exam remained the same as it has been. The spring of 2025 biology assessments, including field-tested aligned items to the new STEEL standards, but was not a census field test. Therefore, accountability data for both participation and performance will be collected and reported. With regard to the performance categories, we aim to have all students at least attain the proficient level in tested subjects. However, beginning in 2023, the state moved towards graduation pathways, which we'll speak about on the next slide. The third bullet is the state's target, and the fourth discusses interim targets for districts between now and 2033 in achieving those expectations. At times, you will see things color-coded in this presentation. Like a traffic light, red signifies areas to stop and examine, yellow gives areas for pause, and green shows that things are going well. Blue means that we are exceeding expected levels of performance. More to come in these areas as our presentation progresses. The last area to touch on before we discuss the 24-25 data is that in 2018, the state passed Act 158. This law requires students to graduate under one of the listed graduation pathways. The class of 2023 was the first to be required to do so. You can see that only the first 2 of these 5 pathways puts a heavy emphasis on using the Keystone exams to meet the graduation pathway requirement. All pathways are listed on this slide and are important to note because students are not retesting as they have been in the past and are demonstrating that they can graduate under a particular pathway. We are being more strategic in who we are encouraging to participate in prep sessions and retake Keystone exams. This paradigm shift impacts district scores as students are not required to retest in the same manner as they did in the past. In addition to these pathways, students could also graduate under a waiver for extenuating circumstances during their senior year or through fulfilling their IEP program if they are a student with special needs. More to come regarding graduation pathways when we get to the high school and subgroup data later in the presentation. This section begins our presentation on the 24-25 data, and again, more information on this data can be found on Future Ready PA Index site, which is futurereadypa.org. At this time, I will turn things over to Mr. Schneiderite to present Peters Elementary School data.
Thank you, Dr. Stoker. Good evening to the board, good evening to the community. First of all, the following slides represent, as you know, Peters Elementary School for the 24-25 school year. And as a reminder to everyone, Peters is our primary grades K through 2 elementary school. So at Peters Elementary School, the first slide will show data regarding regular attendance rate. This is a lagging indicator, which means it's from the 23-24 school year. You can see that the percentage of students not chronically absent at Peters is listed as 83%. This is 3.4% above the state average, yet 11.1% below that statewide performance standard that we must reach by 2033. This is the only data point for state data for Peters Elementary School. However, for the first time last year, we actually had 2 students take the PSSAs. If you recall, we had one class of special education students who were K through 3, and through the board's decision, we hired an extra special education teacher at the middle school, and that sort of realigned it. So we had 2 students take the assessment last year, but because there was only 2 students, it did not meet the N score, which means that data is not reportable. So in lieu of that data, I would like to share with you again the ELA and math data from our local assessments from the last school year, the same time frame. This data demonstrates the growth of our primary grade students, and first we will look at the Dibbles Next data from last school year. This is the entire year worth. It's broken out by grade level, with kindergarten being the top section, first grade being the middle section, and second grade being the bottom section. And within each, within each grade, there are 3 bar graphs, representing the beginning of the year at the top, middle of the year in the middle, and end of the year at the bottom. Looking at the graphs, there are colors that represent groups of students. Blue represents students above benchmark, green represents students that are at benchmark, yellow represents students who are below benchmark, and red represents students who are well below a benchmark. So this graph demonstrates that from the beginning of the year to the end of the year, that there was an increase in students who were at and above benchmark at each grade level, and a decrease in students who were well below benchmark. At the beginning of the year in kindergarten, 26% of students were at or above benchmark, and by the end of the year, 69% of students were at or above benchmark, representing a 43% increase. At the beginning of the year, in first grade, 52% of students were at or above benchmark, and at the end of the year, 73% of students were at or above benchmark, representing a 21% increase. And at the beginning of the year in second grade, that very bottom grouping, 47% of students were at or above benchmark, and at the end of the year, 68% of students were at or above benchmark, which represents a 21% increase as well. And from the beginning of the year, the percentage of students who were below benchmark to well below benchmark also decreased in the same percentages. In kindergarten, they decreased by 43%, in first grade, 21%, and in second grade, 21% as well. I'd also like to remind the board that as you go down the graph, you can see basically less red and yellow, more green and blue, and that as the year progresses, the expectations for the assessment also get more rigorous. It's not as if they give the same test at the beginning and the end of the year, and then as we teach them, it's the same expectation. As they take that beginning, middle, and end of the year benchmark, the assessments and the rigor and the expectation of students also gets more challenging. So there's growth despite the increased rigor throughout the year. This next graph, we will look at the math data from the 23-24 school year, and it's actually going to be in the form of a pie chart. This represents the breakdown of our K through 2 students. On the left-hand side is the data from the beginning of the year, and the right-hand side is the data at the end of the year for our IXL math data. Within the pie charts, dark green represents students above grade level, green represents students on grade level, yellow represents students below, and orange represents students far below grade level. The segment that is gray represents students who did not take the assessment and were not pinpointed. On the left-hand side, at the beginning of the school year, 49% of students were above or on grade level, with 44% of students below or far below grade level, with 8% not pinpointed. At the end of the year, on the right, 61% of students were above or on grade level, which is a 12% increase, and 32% of students were below or far below grade level, a 12% improvement. And at the end of the year as well, 6% of students were not pinpointed. You can see that visual representation very clearly on comparing the left and the right. You can see on the left the amount of green, to the right the amount of green, and the decreased, significant decrease in the amount of yellow, ideally making those students that were in that below area proficient. And my final slide, based on that data, we have a number of areas that we have focused on this school year that I'd like to highlight. First, in ELA, we are focused on our second year of implementation of our CKLA Amplify reading program. We look forward to seeing how this research-based science of reading aligned program continues to contribute to the growth of our students. At the building level, I've had a strong focus on literacy intervention this year. At Peters Elementary School, we have developed what we call a literacy lab, designed to give teachers the tools to more effectively provide timely interventions to our students. We are also planning on hosting our first annual literacy night. I look forward to sharing this information about the event with the board at next month's Education Committee meeting scheduled for February. This event, as a very brief touching point, is designed to support the collaboration between Peters and Peters Elementary School and the families at Peters, and to share information related to early reading strategies so that families can better support their students at home. In math, we are currently undergoing a math pilot grades K through 8. We are piloting 2 programs, Thinking Math and iReady, to examine the best next steps for our math curriculum. At Peters, we have 2 kindergarten teachers and 2 first grade teachers piloting Thinking Math, and we have 1 kindergarten teacher and 2 second grade teachers and 1 second grade teacher piloting iReady. Special thanks to those teachers who are basically jumping into this school year, learning new curriculum, teaching these new curriculum to students so that we can truly vet these programs and make the best choice moving forward for our students. And finally, I wanted to take this opportunity to highlight for the board the impact of the decision last year to hire additional paraprofessionals to work with our students. Because of that decision, we now have an instructional paraprofessional scheduled at every grade level, working with students every single day. This has allowed us to create a more flexible schedule that allows for more students to receive direct intervention. And when not providing those interventions, these paraeducators are working in classrooms providing support for both teachers and students. I wanted to acknowledge that that decision has had a positive impact on what we do at Peters, and thank you for that. Next, I'm going to turn the presentation over to Mr. Briner at Slatington Elementary School.
Uh-oh. What did I do? Okay. Good evening, everyone. It's great to see everybody this afternoon, or this evening. It's really touchy. Okay. I'm going to be presenting the information for Slatington Elementary School. Just as a reminder, Slatington Elementary School is our students in grades 3 through 6. I also get the privilege of explaining a lot of the charts that we're going to be going over this evening. So bear with me, I will do my best to keep them or explain them as best as possible. So our first slide here is regarding attendance and regular attendance rates at Slatington Elementary School. This performance measure represents the percentage of students enrolled in school for 90 or more school days and who are present for 90% or more of those days. So this is a lagging indicator, meaning that it's coming from the 23-24 school year and being presented to you as data in the 24-25 school year. This percentage for Slatington Elementary School was 90.4%. This is 10% or 10.8% above the state average, yet it is 3.7% below the statewide performance standard, which we must reach by 2033. There is also a color code that goes with this. So the color at the top of that slide or the top of that chart, as you can see, is green, but each color means something a little bit different. For attendance, if it were blue, it means that we are exceeding the performance standard, or we're 94.1% or higher for the attendance rate. If it were green, it means that we're meeting the performance standard, meaning we're between 80.9% to 94%. And if it were red, it means that we're we weren't meeting the performance standard, or we were below 80.8%. This next slide is the achievement data for Slatington Elementary School. It represents the percentage of all students enrolled for a full academic year scoring proficient or advanced on the PSSAs in grades 3 through 6 in ELA, math, and science. So ELA is on the left-hand side, math is in the center, science is on the right-hand side. This is a composite score for the building. It also includes a statewide average. So inside the chart, we have our percent proficient or advanced at the top. In the middle is the statewide average, and then at the bottom is the 2033 statewide goal. Also, there is a color code that goes along with this. So if the color were blue, it means that we're meeting or exceeding the statewide goal. If it were green, it means that we're meeting or exceeding the interim target. If it were red, it means that we're not meeting the statewide goal or interim target. And if it were gray, it would mean that it's insufficient information or not applicable. So in ELA, Slatington Elementary School was 37.6% proficient proficient for all of our students in grades 3 through 6. And that's for students that were proficient or advanced on the PSSA. This was below the statewide average of 49.9% and the statewide 2033 goal of 81.1%. This falls into the red category since it does not meet the statewide goal or interim target. In math, Slatington Elementary was 35.4 of all of our students in grades 3 through 6 were proficient or advanced on the PSSA. This was below the statewide average of 41.7 and the statewide 2033 goal of 71.8. This falls into the red category because since it did not meet the statewide goal or the interim target. And as previously stated by Dr. Stoker, the science PSSA has transitioned from grade 4 to grade 5, and for the 24-25 school year, only participation rates were published. So that is the reason why the science color is gray, and it's there's no other data that's being presented for testing results. This next slide shows the growth at Slatington Elementary School, again in ELA, math, and science. ELA on the left, math in the center, and science on the right. This performance measure represents the academic growth of students taking the PSSA relative to their entering achievement and average statewide growth during the reported year. The PVOS academic growth score presents the student's impact or the school's impact on the change in academic achievement levels of groups of students from year to year in each of the state assessed content areas. The PVOS growth index is converted to into a 50 to 100 point scale. The color code for this information is as follows. The blue, it means that we would have exceeded 1 year's worth of the growth standard, or 1 year's worth of growth. Green means that we met 1 year's worth of growth. Red means that we're not meeting 1 year's worth of growth, and gray means that there's insufficient information or it's not applicable. So in ELA, PVOS growth for all students at Slatington for the 24-25 school year was 70. This is lower than the state average growth score of 75.4, but is equal to the 2033 goal of 70. Slatington Elementary fell into the green category in this for this assessment, which means that we met 1 year's worth of the growth and met the 1 year growth standard. In math, PVOS growth for all students at Slatington in 24-25 was 51. That's the growth score. This is lower than the state average growth score of 74.9 and lower than the 2033 growth score of 70. Slatington Elementary fell into the red category for this growth measure because it did not meet the 1 year growth standard. And in science, just as said before, there is insufficient information because this was not reported specifically in science, which is why that is gray up on the board. Okay, so the next few slides breaks this same information down a little bit differently, and specifically related to how the board has asked us to present it kind of in the past, specific to cohorts. So the next few slides will provide you with cohort data for achievement and growth. This particular slide shows the cohort data from last year's 3rd grade, which is this year's 4th grade. Of students in ELA and math. ELA is on the left and math is on the right. The color code at the top for these particular categories are as follows. The pink means that was the percentage of students that were below basic. Yellow means that's the percentage of students that were basic. Green is the percentage of students that are proficient. Blue means that it's the percentage of students that are advanced, and the dark gray after the blue in the chart is the percent of students that were proficient and advanced combined. So the percentage of students who were proficient and advanced in ELA at Slatington Elementary School in 3rd grade in 24-25 was 24%. The percentage of students in math that were proficient in 3rd grade for 24-25 was 30%. This is the first year of state testing, and so therefore you're only seeing 1 year snapshot of data. So there is no growth data that goes along with this because there's no growth calculation that can be made because there's no previous data. So that is why you're only seeing one score, and which is achievement data. This next slide is the same information, but what you will find on this slide is that you have achievement on the two charts at the top. On the left-hand side is ELA, on the right-hand side is math, and below that is growth information, which I will go over in just a moment. So this slide shows the cohort data from last year's 4th grade, which is this year's 5th grade students in ELA and math, and you can see that there's 2 years worth of data here. With regard to achievement, the percentage of students who were proficient and advanced at Slatington in 4th grade last year for 24-25 was 35%. This was an increase from the previous year of 31%. The percentage of students who were proficient or advanced in math at Slatington Elementary in 4th grade in 24-25 was 37%, which was a slight decrease from the previous year of 38%. With regards to growth, the explanation of the two charts at the bottom and the key at the bottom, these charts at the bottom of the slide show a snapshot of student growth performance. The value-added growth measure is measured yearly and is reported in colors in this particular chart. The color definitions are as follows. Dark blue, which is all the way to the right, signifies significant evidence that the school exceeded the growth standard. The light blue is moderate evidence that the school exceeded the growth standard. Green is shows evidence that the school met the growth standard. Yellow shows moderate evidence that the school did not meet the growth standard. Red means that there's significant evidence that the school did not meet the growth standard, and no color would mean that there's no data currently available. So as you can see in 24-25 in ELA, this cohort's growth fell into the green region, which indicates evidence that we met the growth standard, or approximately 1 year's worth of growth, academic growth in ELA. In math, this cohort's growth fell into the lower yellow region, which indicates that there's moderate evidence that we did not meet the growth standard or fell short of 1 year's worth of academic growth. This next slide shows last year's 5th grade and this year's 6th grade. It's the exact same data that I kind of went over in terms of explanation, except for the 5th grade, last year's 5th grade cohort and this year's 6th grade. cohort. As you can see, there's 3 years worth of data for this particular cohort. In regards to achievement, the percentage of students who were proficient and advanced at Slatington and ELA in the 5th grade in 24-25 was 45%. Previous results were 49% in 3rd grade and 51% in 4th grade. So this is a decrease for us from previous years. However, this was higher than the statewide average for 5th grade students in 24-25, which was 44%. The percentage of students who were proficient or advanced at Slatington in math in 5th grade in 24-25 was 43%. Previous results were 40% in 3rd grade and 46% in 4th grade. So this is a decrease from previous years. In regards to growth, as you can see in 24-25 in ELA, this cohort's growth fell into the upper green region, which indicates evidence that the school met the growth standard, or approximately 1 year's worth of growth. In math, this cohort's growth fell into the upper yellow region, which indicates moderate evidence that the school did not meet the growth standard, though it was close to meeting a year's worth of growth. This next slide is cohort data from last year's 6th grade and this year's 7th grade students, and as you can see, there are 4 years worth of data for this cohort. In regards to achievement, the percentage of students who were proficient and advanced at Slatington in 6th grade in ELA in 24-25 was 41%. Previous results were 43% in 3rd, 42% in 4th, and 51% in 5th. So this was a decrease from previous years. The percentage of students who were proficient and advanced at Slatington in 6th grade in math was 24.5, in 24-25 school year was 31%. Previous results were 32% in 3rd grade, 45% in 4th grade, and 42% in 5th grade. So this was also a decrease for this cohort. As you can see, for 24-25 in ELA, this cohort fell into the lower yellow region, which indicates moderate evidence that it did not meet 1 year's worth of growth. And in math, it also fell into the lower yellow region, which indicates moderate evidence that it did not meet a year's worth of growth. This next slide is related to college and career readiness. This indicator represents the percent of students who demonstrate engagement in instruction and activities that satisfy the career education and work academic standards as mandated by Chapter 4 regulations and in accordance with District Comprehensive and Chapter 339 K-12 guidance plans. School entities must demonstrate that students have met the full continuum of career readiness expectations as defined for each grade span. Specifically, evidence shall be collected in a manner that validates that all 4 strands of the career education and work standards have been meaningfully addressed for all students. Grade span requirements are as follows. By the end of grade 5, students must produce 2 or more pieces of evidence accumulated within grades K through 5, the K through 5 span. Students are to produce a minimum of 6 pieces of evidence in grades K through 3, 4, and 5. By the end of grade 8, students have to produce 2 additional pieces of evidence per grade beyond the K through 5 band. 1 piece of evidence for the 6th through 8th grade span must be the student's individual career plan, and students are to produce a minimum of 6 pieces of evidence in grades 6, 7, and 8. By the end of grade 11, students have to produce 2 additional pieces of evidence per grade beyond the K through 5 and the 6th through 8th grade bands. Students are to produce a minimum of 8 pieces of evidence in grades 9, 10, 11, and 11, and at least 2 of these pieces of evidence must demonstrate implementation of the student's individualized career plan. Again, this comes with a color code So blue means that we have exceeded the performance standard, green means that we met the performance standard, yellow is not meeting the performance standard, and gray is insufficient information. So for 24-25, as you can see, we were 100% of our students at Slatington at the school met the standard for college and career evidence. This is 8.5% above the state average and 2% above the statewide performance standard. This falls into the blue category, which is for exceeding the performance standard, and I'm proud to announce this is the 3rd year in a row that we have met this standard with a perfect score. This next slide is a historical look at Slatington Elementary School's building scores. The state has moved, as Dr. Stoker mentioned, away from using a single value and instead uses a dashboard system of progress. However, the building score does show a progression over time. The building score for 24-25 was 62.1, which does represent a decline in recent years. The main cause for the decline in the building score was a drop in the achievement scores in ELA. This decrease was not entirely unexpected, as we were anticipating an implementation dip following curriculum changes in ELA. We remain fully committed to and confident in the selection of CKLA and its implementation, and believe strongly in this foundational shift and that it will lead to greater long-term success. Additionally, the building score was also impacted by the absence of adequate academic growth in mathematics. We recognize mathematics growth and achievement continue to play a major factor in the overall progression at Slatington Elementary School, which is why we have currently engaged in a math curriculum program change process. And finally, our building score was also affected by a technical change in the calculation with the exclusion of the science achievement scores due to the new state standards. Without the science component factored into the score, the decline we saw in ELA and math was magnified because of greater weights in that calculation. It is important to note that science historically has been a high-performing category for our building, and this change in the calculation meant that the challenge that we are seeing in ELA and math was magnified in the building score. So the question is, where are we going from here, and what are we focusing on? The first point up there is understanding our cohorts. There's 3 main points that I want to point out and discuss regarding understanding the cohorts. First, a small elementary school serving 4 assessed grade levels with an overall achievement score is profoundly means that our overall achievement score is profoundly sensitive to the performance of any one single cohort. When a cohort is assessed for the first time, their initial scores establish a baseline achievement data that follows them for the next 4 years. In a small school, the success or challenge of a single grade level carries a much larger weight on the overall final achievement outcome compared to a larger school. This is one reason why there are at times dramatic shifts in overall achievement at our building. It also helps to pinpoint the overall concern in Tier 1 curriculum and instruction. The progressive drops we have witnessed over the past recent years in ELA and math help to validate the work that we have done and are doing in curricular changes and program changes. Second, in regards to cohorts, it is crucial to look beyond raw achievement scores and focus on academic growth of our cohorts. Achievement tells us where students are, but growth tells us how fast they are moving. We're pleased to see the instructional efforts, on average, made the expected full year's worth of academic growth in ELA, even while still navigating a new curriculum. This PSSA data is consistent with what we saw in our local benchmarking data as well. On the other hand, we're not seeing the expected full year's worth of growth in math and have not historically. So we are working to move in a different direction by pivoting or by piloting programs in the change process. Third, while meeting the overall standard for growth in ELA is a major accomplishment, it highlights our challenge, which is making dramatic multi-year jumps in achievement in a single year. Our students are achieving their expected annual growth, but multiple cohorts start below proficiency. So reaching the proficient benchmark requires sustained and accelerated learning across multiple years. To help accomplish this, we are actively focused on strategies and diversifying our tool belt, such as integrating specialized instruction like Orton Gillingham, UFly, and Voyager programs through our MTSS process, and also leveraging IXL differently and more strategically to help us accelerate student learning beyond the expected rate and close the achievement gap over time. Specifically related to math, we're focusing on obviously achievement and growth, and as I previously stated, we recognize the mathematics growth and achievement continues to need improvement, and we are actively working towards that solution. We are currently engaged in the math curriculum review process with 2 pilot programs currently running in the building, and we are planning on a potential math curriculum program change in the 26-27 school year. In the meantime, we are working diligently to leverage academic tools such as IXL and small group targeted interventions groups to close gaps and increase overall growth of our students. We are also refining our ELA implementation, and so despite meeting growth standards in ELA, we remain committed to the improvement in achievement and eliminating the implementation dip that has occurred. We remain fully committed to the fidelity of the CKLA implementation process. We are having planning and data meetings that are being held to discuss the implementation tools, their application, and the use of the data and strategies currently being used in the classrooms. We're also using all of the programs in our tool belt that I mentioned earlier to address concerns through our MTSS process in ELA. And finally, we're targeting historically underperforming groups. To improve overall achievement, we are prioritizing the support of groups such as our economically disadvantaged students and our English language learners. For economically disadvantaged students, we are ensuring basic needs are being met through programs such as CEP, which is our free breakfast and lunch program, and Backpack Buddies, which is our program that we send food home with students over the weekend to support them with nourishment over the weekend. We're providing specialized targeted interventions through our MTSS process, and we're also engaging with our families. For our English language learners, thanks to the support of the school board, additional staffing has been hired and is now in place to meet the growing needs of our ELDP, or English Language Development Program. We continue to focus on professional development and instructional strategies to address individual learning needs, specifically for our newcomers. And we are also seeing success in this, specifically with our WIDA scores and our WIDA success from last year. The WIDA test is the annual assessment that all of our English language learners must take, and we are pleased that our efforts to support our English language learners at Slatington is yielding strong results, as evidenced in the 24-25 WIDA Access Assessment data. So some key indicators of that success is a strong average proficiency. So Slatington achieved an average WIDA score of 3.8 out of 6 for students tested in grades 3 through 6, with 6 students testing out of the program into exit monitoring status, meaning that they're scoring a 4.5 or higher, which is a very large number in one school year to test out. They also had high oral language proficiency on the assessment, and students demonstrated notable proficiency in receptive language skills, with multiple students achieving high scores across the domains. We are also engaging families in the educational program through adult ESL classes and family field trips. So this concludes the Slatington Elementary School data. I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Williams now for the middle school data. It's very touching.
All right, I appreciate that. Good evening to the board. Good evening to the community. Mr. Bryan, I'm going to thank you for describing all of the charts and the colors. The data that you're going to see from me. The middle school is going to follow those descriptions, so I won't have to go through and describe all of that again. The following slides that you're about to see represent the data from the Northern Lehigh Middle School from the 2024-2025 school year. As a reminder, Northern Lehigh Middle School houses grades 7 and 8. At Northern Lehigh Middle School, the first slide that we are showing you is data regarding the regular attendance rate. This is a lagging indicator from the 2023-2024 school year. You can see that the percentage of students not chronically absent, I want to bold that, it's hard to see the not there, not chronically absent at the middle school is 85.6%. This is 6% above the state average, yet still 8.5% below the statewide performance standard that we must reach by 2023. This regular attendance rate is slightly higher than the 85.2% from the prior year, and that's showing an increase in the number of students who are not chronically absent at the middle school, and this earned us a green rating indicating that we have met the performance standard. This is encouraging as improving overall student attendance has been a focal point at the middle school over a number of years, and through the rest of the school year this year, our building level office team will continue to utilize our newly developed attendance tracking system. We're going to use increased proactive family outreach and the incorporation of attendance goals throughout our building in order to ensure that we reach the 2033 statewide performance standard that you see there. The slide that you're seeing now shows the achievement data for the Northern Lehigh Middle School for the 2024-2025 school year. In English Language Arts, 47.9% of all students in grades 7 and 8 were proficient or advanced on the PSSA. This was below the state average of 49.9% and the statewide 2033 goal of 81.8% as indicated by the red rating that you're seeing there. In math, 22.4% of all students in grades 7 and 8 were proficient or advanced on the PSSA. This was below the state average of 41.7% and the statewide 2033 goal of 71.8% as indicated by the red rating. As previously stated, the Science PSSA has transitioned, so for the 2024-2025 school year, only participation rates were published, and you did not see any testing results indicated by the gray color. This slide shows the growth scores for the middle school across the 3 PSSA tested subjects. In English Language Arts, our PVOS growth for all students in the 2024-2025 school year in the middle school was 86.0. This is higher than the statewide average growth score of 75.4 and higher than the 2033 goal of 70.0. The middle school is blue in the ELA growth measure because we exceeded the growth standard. In math, the PVOS growth for all students in the 24-25 school year of the middle school was 64.0. This is lower than the statewide average growth score of 74.9 and lower than the 2033 goal of 70.0. The middle school is red in the math growth measure because we did not meet the growth standard in this area for the 24-25 school year. And as we stated in science, PVOS growth was not reported, indicated by the gray color. This slide shows, as you've seen in the previous data from Slatington, the cohort data that is representing this year's 7th grade students. Last year's 7th grade students, and that would be this year's current 8th grade students in ELA and math for 5 years. You'll see the ELA scores on the left, and you'll see the data for the math on the right. With regard to achievement, the percentage of students who were proficient and advanced in ELA in the 24-25 school year was 44%. Previous results were 16% in grade 3, 48% in grade 4, 49% in grade 5, 46% in grade 6, and 44% in grade 7. So this is a slight decrease from the last few years. The percentage of students who are proficient and advanced in math in the 24-25 school year was 21%. When we look at previous results, 34% in grade 3, 37% in grade 4, 35% in grade 5, 22% in grade 6, and 21% in grade 7. So this is a decrease from previous years. With regard to growth, as you see below, as you can see for the 24-25 school year in ELA, this cohort's growth fell in the middle of the green region, which is classified as meets, indicating evidence that the school met the growth standard or approximately a year's worth of academic growth. On the right-hand side, you see the growth score for math. In math, this cohort's growth fell in the upper red region, which is categorized as well below, indicating significant evidence that the school did not meet the growth standard. This slide shows cohort data for last year's 8th grade students, which are students who are currently in 9th grade, for ELA and math over the last 5 years. We do not have Keystone data for this entire cohort yet. With regard to achievement, the percentage of students who are proficient and advanced in ELA in the 24-25 school year was 50%. Previous post-pandemic results were 51% in 4th grade, 52% in 5th grade, 53% in 6th grade, 50% in 7th grade, and 50% in 8th grade. So this is the same as the previous year and a decrease from other years. However, this is above the state average for this subject area in the 24-25 tested year. The percentage of students who are proficient and advanced in math in the 24-25 school year was 23%. Previous post-pandemic results were 37% in 4th grade, 34% in 5th grade, 40% in 6th grade, and 32% in 7th grade. So this is a decrease from previous years. With regard to growth, if you look at the bottom, ELA on the left, and we'll see 2 on the right for math, and then also below that, you'll see Algebra 1, and I'll speak a little bit about that. As you can see for the 24-25 school year in ELA, this cohort's growth fell in the middle of the dark blue region, which is categorized as well above, indicating significant evidence that the school exceeded the growth standard. In math, for students who took the PSSAs, this cohort's growth fell in the lower red region, which is categorized as well below, indicating significant evidence that the school did not meet the growth standard. Below that, you're seeing the growth score for our students who took the Algebra 1 Keystone exam. This cohort's growth fell in the upper dark blue region, which is categorized as well above, indicating significant evidence that the school exceeded the growth standard. So at the middle school, we actually run 2 sections of a higher level Algebra 1 course, and we ran 2 of those sections in the 24-25 school year as well. In the 24-25 school year, we have 42 students who took this course, and that was an increase of 4 students compared to the year prior. The year prior, we had 38 total students take that course. When we look at the scores, 95% of our students that took this course scored proficient and advanced, 40 out of 42 students, and 60% of our students, 25 out of the 42, achieved advanced on the Algebra 1 Keystone exam. So while we're increasing the number of students who test each year, we are also continuing to increase the percentage of students that are achieving advanced on the Algebra 1 Keystone exam. And this marks the 5th consecutive year that the percentage of students scoring advanced on the Algebra 1 Keystone exam has increased for our students at the middle school. This slide shows the career standards benchmark as previously stated. For the 24-25 school year, you can see that 100% of students in the school met the standard for college and career evidence. This is 8.5% above the state average and 2% above the statewide performance standard. I'm proud to announce that this is the 4th year in a row that we have met this standard with a perfect score. This table shows a historical look at the middle school's building scores. As previously stated, the state has moved away from using a single value and instead uses a dashboard system of progress. However, building scores do incorporate data from the areas that we have presented tonight. Student achievement on state assessments, student academic growth year to year, closing gaps in achievement among different student groups, and other academic indicators such as attendance. As was previously stated, the middle school has also been impacted by the technical change in the calculation of building scores, with the exclusion of the science achievement scores due to the new state standards. Without the science component factored into the score this year, building scores were more heavily weighted in English language arts and mathematics. It is important to note that this science has historically been a high-performing category for our building, and it was not included. Even with this change, you can see that the middle school has been incrementally growing each year. The building score that you see there of 66.6 is the highest on record. This progression is encouraging, as it is an indicator that our areas of focus and the work we are doing at the middle school to continually improve overall student growth and achievement is on the right track. So that's the data, and having the data is very important, but what we do with the data and the action that we take with that data is really where we're going to see the gains and us meeting the goals that we have set for ourselves. So with that in mind, there's 4 main areas that we have as a focus at the middle school. You can see them bolded at the top of each one of those particular areas. We're looking to strengthen curriculum implementation in our tested content areas, use data and professional development to drive instructional improvement, maximize student intervention and goal setting through our win and goal team periods, which we often refer to as our advisory periods, and we're looking to integrate our MTSS system, which at the middle school, our teams are our Inspire team, our academic team, and our SAP team. When we take a look at what we're doing with curriculum, we're going to continue staff collaboration as we are in year 1 of our adoption of the Amplify program in ELA. And we're looking for that collaboration to help us align curriculum tightly to the PA Core ELA standards, establish and monitor appropriate instructional pacing, strengthen vertical alignment between grades 7 and 8, and increase depth of knowledge, rigor, and standards-based discourse. We're looking to continue piloting the iReady math curriculum, and as we do that, we're looking to focus again on our alignment to the PA Core math standards, integration of diagnostic data that we're implementing daily in instruction, and we're looking to identify any gaps prior to a full adoption so that we make the right decision with the curriculum. And we're beginning exploration of an integrated science curriculum in grades 7 and 8 that aligns with the PA Steel standards and emphasizes inquiry, real-world application, and vertical coherence. As we take a look at what we're doing with data and professional development, we're looking to facilitate vertical collaboration among content area teachers so that we can address gaps that we see between our grade levels and align instructional expectations and assessments. We want to look to continue to leverage our use of EdInsight for teacher-specific review of data so that we can continue to analyze formative benchmark and state assessment data, identify trends and instructional priorities. For example, do we see weaknesses in particular anchors, or do we see them in particular question styles, like for example, open-ended questions or text-dependent analysis. And we're looking to make sure that we target historically underperforming groups through the review and assessment of that data. When we take a look at what we're trying to do with our student intervention in our win and goal team periods, we're looking to continue to pursue our 5th School of Distinction status from our relationship with the Brilliant Pathways and the College for Every Student program. We're going to continue to form relationships with community partners as we continue to present seminars and facilitate campus visits for our students at the middle school. We're going to utilize our mentoring model to facilitate student-specific goal setting. And we're going to look to leverage our use of the programs that we have at our disposal, like IXL and Firefly, so that we can provide targeted support and intervention. That's going to help us identify standards level gaps using PSSA-aligned assessments, It's going to help us assign PA core line skills based on our Firefly data and use diagnostic data for targeted support and for targeting student grouping. For example, these would be our bubble students as we get into marking period 3, who we know just need that little push to move into that proficient level. And lastly, a big push at the middle school is making sure that all of our systems communicate together so that we can align and embed data sources across our MTSS teams, ensure academic, behavioral, and social emotional supports are aligned, and so that we can develop a shared vision through proactive communication with our students and with our families. And with that, I am going to now turn it over to Dr. Volley for the data from Northern Lehigh High School.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. Good evening, everyone. It's great to see you as always, and now I know which button I'm pushing here. All right, so we are finally to the high school. The following slides represent our high school data from the 24-25 school year, and again, our school houses, as you know, grades 9 through 12. At Northern Lehigh High School, the first slide shows data regarding the regular attendance rate. This, as you know, is a lagging indicator from the 23-24 school year. You can see that the percent of students not chronically absent at the high school is at 84%. This is 4.4% above the state average and 10.1% below the performance standard that we have to reach by the school year 2033. All right, the achievement scores for the high school are a little bit different than the other schools. The results I'm going to share for the 24-25 11th grade cohort of students, regardless of when they take the Keystone exams, whether it's 9th grade, 10th grade, 11th grade, it doesn't really matter. They're banked until the students are actually juniors, so when they are in 11th grade. And then we share them with you during that school year. So in English language arts, 54.2% of the 11th grade cohort of students were proficient or advanced on Keystone exams. This was above the state average of 49.9%, but still below the statewide goal of 2033 of 81.1. So we have a little bit of time to get there, but we are above the state average. In math, which is the middle column there, 38.3% of 11th grade cohort of students were proficient or advanced on the Keystone. This was just below the state average of 41.7 and below the 2033 goal of 71.8. So we were only about 3% below the statewide average for math. And as previously stated, the Science Keystone is transitioning to the STEEL standards. So for the 24-25 school year, only participation rates were published and not the actual testing results. This slide shows the growth scores for the high school across the 3 tested subject areas. In literature, PVOS growth for all students in 24-25 in the high school was 100. If you remember, Mr. Briner explained that the scores range from 50 to 100. So quite honestly, our students could not have performed any better. This is higher than the statewide average score of 75.4 and higher than the actual 2033 goal of 70. The high school is in blue in the English language arts growth measure because we exceeded the growth standard. In Algebra 1, PVOS growth for all students in 24-25 in the high school was 74. This is slightly lower than the statewide average growth score of 74.9, but already higher than the 2033 goal of 70. The high school is in green for math for the growth measure because we meet the growth standard in this area for 24-25. In biology, PVOS growth for 24-25 was not reported. This slide shows cohort data from last year's 9th grade, this year's 10th grade, students in ELA and math for 4 years. We do not have Keystone data for this entire cohort yet, but we will next year. So just looking at them with regard to achievement, Previous post-pandemic ELA results were 55% in 5th grade, 62% in 6th grade, 59% in 7th grade, and 59% in 8th grade. Previous post-pandemic math results were 30% in 5th grade, 33% in 6th grade, 41% in 7th grade, and 22% in 8th grade. There is no additional achievement or growth to report for this cohort is because not all of them test in 9th grade. This slide shows cohort data for last year's 10th grade, this year's 11th grade students in ELA and math for 3 years. We do not have Keystone data for this entire cohort yet, but will at the end of this school year. With regard to achievement, previous post-pandemic ELA results were 50% in 6th grade, 51% in 7th grade, and 43% in 8th grade. Previous post-pandemic math results were 14% in 6th grade, 22% in 7th grade, and 9% in 8th grade. There is no additional achievement or growth to report for this cohort, as not all of them test in 10th grade. This slide shows cohort data for last year's 11th grade, this year's 12th grade students in ELA and math for middle school and high school. We do have Keystone data for this entire cohort. So let's look at achievement. The percent of students proficient and advanced on the ELA PSSA in 7th grade was 41%, and in 8th grade was 45%. The percent of 11th grade cohort of students who was proficient or advanced on the literature Keystone was 55%. The percent of students proficient and advanced on the math PSSA in 7th grade was 17%. When they were in 8th grade, it was 4%. Now the percent of 11th grade cohort of students who were proficient or advanced on the Algebra 1 Keystone was 39%. Let's take a look at growth. As you can see, for the 24-25 school year in literature, this cohort's growth fell in the upper dark blue region, which is categorized as well above, indicating significant evidence that our school exceeded the growth standard. In Algebra 1, this cohort's growth fell in the middle of the green region, which is categorized as meeting, indicating evidence that the school met the growth standard, or approximately made 1 year's worth of academic growth. This slide shows cohort data for last year's 12th grade, who are our graduates, in English Language Arts and Math for middle school and high school. Again, we do have Keystone data for this entire cohort. So let's take a look at achievement. The percent of students proficient and advanced on the ELA PSSA in 8th grade was 49%. The percent of the 11th grade cohort of students who was proficient or advanced on Literature Keystone was 53%. Jumping over to math, the percent of students proficient and advanced on the Math PSSA in 8th grade was 13%. The percent of 11th grade cohort of students who was proficient or advanced on the Algebra 1 Keystone was 48%. Jumping down to growth. As you can see, for 24-25 in literature, this cohort's growth fell in the upper green region, which is classified as meets, indicating evidence that the school met the growth standard, or approximately a year's worth of academic growth. In Algebra 1, this cohort's growth fell in the lower dark blue region, which is categorized as well above, indicating that there was significant evidence that our school exceeded the growth standard. This slide shows the Career Standards benchmark for the 24-25 school year, and you can see that 100% of students in our school met the standard for college and career evidence. This is 8.5% above the state average and 2% above the statewide performance standard. I am proud to announce that this also for us is the 3rd year in a row that we have met this standard with a perfect score. And just to highlight, we have also been a CFES School of Distinction for 3 consecutive years. CFES again stands for College and Career for Every Student. And we have several, well, all of our staff, but several point people. You met one of them tonight, Mrs. Tiedemann, and one of our school counselors, Mrs. Hoffert, works very hard with our high school scholars to represent everything we do in this area. And they are to be commended for all of that. All right, graduation is also a lagging indicator. So as you can see, the graduation data is from the 23-24 school year. The high school had 91.7% of our students graduate in 4 years, and we exceeded the state average of 88%, and we are very close already to the 2033 goal of 92.4%. The industry-based learning standard measures the number of 12th graders who at some point between 7th grade and 12th grade achieved one or more of the following. They either scored competent or advanced on industry standards-based competency assessments, earned at least one industry-recognized credential, completed a work-based learning experience. Industry standards-based competency include assessments like the NOCD, which our students take at LCTI as part of many of their programs. For the 24-25 school year, we had about 25% of our student body attending LCTI in some capacity, which is pretty exciting. The data on the right-hand graphic is based on the 24-25 school year data. As you can see, 43% of our students achieved one of these industry-based learning measures. This is above the state average of 41.4%, as well as already above the statewide performance standard for 2033 of 30.7. Okay, this table, as you've seen in previous presentations, show a historical look at the high school's building scores. As previously stated, the state has moved away from using a single value and instead uses a dashboard system of progress. However, building scores do show a progression over time. The building score for 24-25 is 74.7, which is the highest one since the pandemic. During 24-25, students at the high school took AP exams in calculus, biology, English language and composition, English literature and composition, and U.S. history. A score of 3 or higher on an AP exam is considered a qualifying score, meaning students have demonstrated college-level knowledge and, depending on the institution, may earn college credit or advanced placement. In calculus, there were 6 students who tested. The average score was 2.8, and 67% of students scored a 3 or higher. In biology, there were 3 students who tested. The average score was a 3.7, and all students scored a 3 or higher. In language and composition, there were 8 students who tested. The average score was a 3.1, and 88% of our students scored a 3 or higher. In literature and composition, there were 4 students who tested. The average score was a 3.0, and 75% of our students scored a 3 or higher. In U.S. history, there were 13 students who tested. The average score was a 3.3, and 77% of our students scored a 3 or higher. So overall, we had 34 students test. The average score was a 3.2. All exams and 79% of students who tested scored at least a 3. And just to share in comparison, we had about the same number of students last year, 33 students took AP exams last year. The average score was a 2.7 as compared to 3.2 this year, and only 52% of students scored at least a 3. And we had 79% this year score that high. Okay, this slide shows SAT performance for students at our high school with a focus on the 2025 administration. In 2025, 32 students participated in the SAT. For 2025, students earned an average evidence-based reading and writing score of 550 and an average math score of 522. for a combined average total score of 1038. This total score is slightly above the 2025 national average of 1029, but below the PA average of 1075. For comparison, in 2024, 37 students at Northern Lehigh High School took the SAT and earned an average evidence-based reading and writing score of 579 and an average math score of 553 for a combined average total score of 1131. The 2024 high school average exceeded both the national average of 1024 and the PA average of 1078 that year. While the number of test takers decreased slightly from 24 to 25, SAT results continue to reflect strong performance in evidence-based reading and writing relative to national norms. Year-to-year variation is expected given the relatively small cohort sizes and SAT participation at the high school. Remember, it remains optional and self-selected, which should be considered when interpreting trends over time. So to the good stuff, as the other principals mentioned. So, we have a multifaceted approach at the high school, which basically means it's more than one goal, but not so many that you get lost and you do nothing well, okay? So we really have narrowed it down to 3 areas this year at the high school. The first is ongoing strategic professional development. These very strategically selected sessions for our faculty center on high impact instructional strategies. So what is happening in front of our kids every single day? And using those strategies to maximize the effectiveness of everything we do academics. So core instruction, so what happens in every classroom for 80 minutes a day, that's what we call core instruction. So what instructional strategies in those content areas are going to yield the best understanding, learning, academic growth, and achievement? And not only in our core one, which we call it in our regular classes, but also in our intervention time, which again, is unheard of at a secondary level quite often, and we have it at the high school. We have a beautiful amount of time during the day, in the middle of the day. So now that we have this great time and our kids are doing great during that time, now we need to sharpen our focus during that time. So what is it? How are we intervening with the kids that are struggling? As Mr. Williams talked about, the bubble students who just need that little bit of push, and how are we challenging those that are already high achievers? And how do we do that? Do we get presenters in? How do we get them involved and to get them and to push them further than they've ever gone before? So just an example of something I put in there was, we have experts in-house that are amazing. Our teachers, our staff, amazing. You met one of them last week, Amanda Bariana. She is amazing at data. So we have a lot of in-house experts, but there are times when we have to go out. So, our partners with the IU 21, they're coming in a couple weeks, and they're going to be working with us on those key instructional strategies in various areas. We're also sending, we believe in Dr. Rick Amini. He is an expert in math out of Penn State. We're sending our whole math department together to see him and learn from him. And yeah, that throws a little wrench in coverage at the high school that day, but it doesn't matter because we believe it's important enough to send them all. So also we're looking at effective utilization of tools for math. As Mr. Williams mentioned, Firefly IXL, we're getting better and better and better at looking at the data and moving from looking at it to action. And I know that's something Mrs. Culp has mentioned many times, is what are you going to do about it? And that's what we're focusing on at the high school is, okay, we've talked about it, we see what it is, how do we move it to action? Our second focus, collaboration and consistency and utilization of block instruction, and again, our lunch and learn interventions. So we're monitoring the impact of what we're doing, not only in core instruction, but also in that intervention time. And we have a group of lead teachers at the high school who are really just that. They're teacher leaders who are asking questions about the attendance data, the growth data, the achievement data, and why is it that some are moving and some are not. So we're having those great discussions, and actions, moving to action. And then the last thing is just taking a look at our lesson plans, making sure they're engaging, because if our kids are not engaged, they are not going to learn. So that's the very foundational pieces of what we do. We can't abandon those because, again, it's the foundation of everything. And if we are not designing engaging lessons, and that's what it is, it's a design, it's a craft. And not everybody's great at that, and some are amazing, and we just all help each other. So it's identifying those best practices and then replicating those in every classroom across the building. And I think our data is showing that we are going in the right direction. We have a lot to celebrate at the high school, and we're just going to keep the momentum going. So thank you for all your support as always. I'm going to turn it over to our Assistant Superintendent, Dr. Stoker.
Thank you, Dr. Bali, and Mrs. Dada is going to join me. Thank you to our principals for the thorough presentations of their building data this evening. Next, Mrs. Dada and I will examine historically underperforming populations. These include students who are economically disadvantaged, English learners, and special education students who have an IEP. To examine equity and how Northern Lehigh School District is serving underperforming populations, we examine the performance of various subgroups across the district. This slide shows performance levels for students who were considered economically disadvantaged in 24-25. Recall from our demographic slide earlier in the presentation that 41.4% of our students are economically disadvantaged district-wide in 24-25. At Slatington, 27.8% of students who were considered economically disadvantaged were proficient or advanced in ELA, and 22.6% were proficient or advanced in math. In the middle school, 31.4% of students who were considered economically disadvantaged were proficient or advanced in ELA, and 7% proficient or advanced in math. At the high school, 40% of students who were considered economically disadvantaged were proficient or advanced in literature, and 21.4% were proficient or advanced on Algebra 1. Although across the board these performance levels are about 10 percentage points below the all-student peer group, they are generally comparable to other economically disadvantaged populations across the county and across our IU. This slide shows performance levels for students who were considered multilingual learners or English learners in 24-25. As a reminder from the demographic slide earlier in our presentation, about 3.7% of students are considered ELs district-wide last year. At Slatington, 10% of students who were considered ELs were proficient or advanced in ELA, and 5% were proficient or advanced in math. This is the first year that Slatington has met the state-required N count of 20 ELs, which means comparison data from the prior years is not available. So it's the first year that we had enough students to actually see numbers and data for that group in our district. For both middle school and high school, the N count of 20 students is still not being met. So while you will see IS or insufficient sample listed for those tested subjects in the secondary school at this time. Sometimes ELA, math, and science PSSAs and Keystone assessments are not the most accurate measures of performance for our English learners, as it can be difficult to determine whether results reflect a student's content knowledge or language acquisition barrier. For this reason, Pennsylvania also administers the National WIDA assessment to English learners statewide. WIDA measures students' reading, writing, speaking, and listening skills in English, providing a more precise picture of language development and growth over time. During the 24-25 school year, more than 60 students were enrolled in English language development program at any given time. Across the district, 63 students were assessed across the WIDA domains. Scores ranged from a low of 1.0, representing students at the newcomer level of English proficiency, to a high of 5.1, indicating students at the bridging level. This range illustrates the diverse language proficiency levels of our multilingual learners across the district. Average scores by school are listed on the slide and indicate that many of our students are at the beginning or developing stages of English proficiency. These results are reviewed on an individual basis as students enter Northern Lehigh with varying levels of English language experience. Instructional supports are intentionally designed to promote growth from each student's unique baseline. I am pleased to report that as a result of this targeted learning and weekly meetings with the ESL department, that we had 7 students across the district who earned scores qualifying them for exit from the ELDP and placement on exit monitor status for the current school year. This 11% place-out rate is a tribute to the ESL teachers, classroom teachers, and the ELDP paraprofessional who work with the students in that department.
Good evening. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the assessments for special education students. One of those is the PASA. The PASA is the alternative system of assessments for students with significant disabilities, typically those that are identified as intellectually disabled or autistic. While the state average of students with disabilities continues to rise, the state still only allows 1% of all the state tested students to take the PASA. As you can see, the district has been working towards meeting the allowable amount for 25-26. Now, this is an estimate because students may come in or leave by the time we actually take the assessment. So that is an estimate, and we're hoping to make our goal this year of under 1%. Excuse me. The district went through compliance monitoring last year, and this is an area that we'll continue to need to monitor. The district numbers continue to fluctuate with students moving in and out, and more students are being identified every year. When I started this, we were at 13% of students who had IEPs. We are now at almost 20%, as you saw, 19.5%. But we are still only allowed for that 1% according to the state. While the district continues to monitor and educate the staff and students on the eligibility criteria for the alternative PASA, the decision if the student takes the PASA or not is strictly an IEP team decision. Okay? Sorry. Yep, thanks. This is now the, talking about the PSSAs, okay? This slide shows the performance levels for students who were identified with disabilities in 24 and 25. If you recall from the previous demographics slide early in the presentation, the students with disabilities now represents the 19.5% of population. And this is a very diverse group and subgroup within our district. At Slating, you'll see that we are at 13.7% of students with disabilities were proficient and advanced in ELA, and 13.7% were proficient and advanced in math. In the middle school, 14% of the students with disabilities were proficient and advanced in ELA, and 7% were proficient and advanced in math and Algebra 1. While at the high school, 28% of the students with disabilities were proficient and advanced in literature, and 7.7% were proficient and advanced in Algebra 1. With the subgroups, proficiency rates for students with disabilities are notably lower, obviously, than all the student peer groups, reflecting the complexity of the learning needs within this population. It's important to note that many of these students with reading disabilities are 1 or 2 grade levels below the typical student. Yet they're required to read, decode, comprehend, and respond to the same grade level text as the other students. Despite this challenge, in many cases, students have demonstrated greater than a year's growth in reading when measured with their instructional level. This outcome is generally indicated with trends across the county and with the IU. It's important to focus on the specially designed instruction that we do, inclusive practices, and targeting academic supports for these students.
This slide contains some of the strategies that we are using to address the subgroups and individual needs of the historically underperforming students. With regard to the economically disadvantaged students, we are trying to ensure that their other basic needs are met as described earlier in the presentation. For example, CEP allows for free breakfast and lunch. We do backpack buddies so that we're meeting some of the basic needs of students. We also tried to provide targeted interventions through our MTSS systems across the district and in each of the buildings, and then engaging families in the educational program.
For special education, we are going to have to continue to monitor those PASA participation rates, continue to challenge our students in that area. We're going to monitor the PSSA participation rates at grades 8 and 11. That was previously a problem in years past that we'll continue to monitor and make sure that everybody is participating. A lot of that has to do with motivation because our students don't want to take those long tests, and we're going to make it into we're going to chunk the tests and things like that, and also provide some motivation. Our teachers are doing a great job providing short-term motivation for those grades. Also to continue to increase the student inclusion rates for all grade levels.
With regard to our multilingual learners in our English language development program, we can't thank the board enough for hiring that additional teacher to meet the growing needs of our program. We're definitely seeing the benefits of that with more personalized instruction for our students in the ESL program. We're looking also to focus on PD and strategies to address individual learning needs of students, especially those that are newcomers, either coming directly into the country to Northern Lehigh or coming into surrounding districts and then transferring to Northern Lehigh. You'll actually see one of those PD sessions that is on the board agenda for approval this evening. And finally, looking to engage families in the educational program through adult ESL classes. Those actually run on Monday nights around the same time as our committee meetings or our board meetings, and those are to engage families of any student in the district who are also looking to learn English. And then family field trips, we take many of the family members with us on student field trips to engage them in the educational process. So this concludes our presentation for this evening. I know that was a little bit longer than expected. We do appreciate your attention. There's a lot of important information that we went over tonight. We'll take questions at this time, and then if you have any additional questions that come up, you certainly can email those to me and we can get back to you with responses.
I do. Go ahead. So one thing I would ask is, would it be possible next time we do a slide presentation to number the pages so that if we refer to a slide?
Yes.
Okay, thanks.
Yes, we can do that.
All
Just on a side note, this will be posted on the website either this evening or tomorrow. We'll get this up onto the web page so that if anyone wants to reference it, you can certainly do so at that time.
So the first question I have is, at the elementary level, we seem to always have start off the year with low and achieving scores, and I really commend the teachers for jump starting the students after being off for the summertime. I was wondering, do we have any thoughts, have we given any thought to some kind of summer learning loss program, maybe to keep the kids engaged over the summertime so that math and reading, so that we don't fall behind, lose?
So I can speak to KinderQuest for our students coming in before they even begin in kindergarten. Mr. Schneiderite and his team over at Peters have run that. This is going to be year 3 coming up for our incoming 26-27 group of students. That's to get students familiar with the school, familiar with academics, with what happens at Peters. We've also in the past, especially during the pandemic, to try to close the gap, have run Open Horizons. We have our STEAM program that runs in the summer. So we have done summer programs in the past. We have curtailed, or some of those programs have been reduced since the pandemic. But it's something, if that's the board's will, we can look at further as well.
The other thing with elementary, I know that we're working on bringing new curriculum, and I heard that that's a reason why maybe our scores are low. And maybe this is a question for Scott, Mr. Pine. Is it Dr. Pine now? No, not yet. When do you see the dust settling with the new curriculum that we would start to see advances?
So the rule of thumb is that there's an implementation gap that can last up to 3 years. I don't anticipate us seeing that. Our teachers actually have recovered very well from what I think was a very difficult year last year, particularly in terms of learning the pacing, learning the program themselves. If you think about it as you drive your car every day, right? And all of a sudden you get thrown in someone else's car, and it takes some time to get adjusted to that. It's a terrible analogy in some ways because it's way more complex than that is. But yeah, so I mean, I don't expect that. I don't expect it to take 3 years. I think we're already seeing a much higher level of comfort in our teachers. I would say that you're going to see the biggest gains at our lower grades first, right? So the students who are in this program at the primary level, they're getting all of that instruction in terms of foundational literacy components right there at the get-go. Whereas at the upper grades, in some ways, we're trying to compensate for that not having been there prior to the new curriculum adoption. So there's just a lot more work to close the gap in the upper grades. We'll actually have conversations about the math adoption coming up, within the next month. It's going to be a similar conversation there. There's a real struggle when students have not been through a rich program all the way through. When we do end up making that shift of a bigger struggle at the top end and closing that gap, then obviously our students who come in with blank slates who are coming in with us.
Okay. Satisfied?
Yeah.
I'd just like to thank you all for presenting some historical data. I appreciate that. Gives us a little bit of an idea where we were going, and I think that's comfortable. I'm still a little sad that we're seeing a lot of reds, probably as many reds as blues, and I'd like to see more blues, but I know you're working on it, so we'll go from there. Anything else, Dr. Stoker?
That's our report this evening. Thank you, Mr. Green.
Thank you very much. Where are we here? The superintendent, Ms. Malatoris.
I don't have anything this evening because Mrs. Cusack did say that the budget is on the agenda for approval this evening for CLIU. That's all I have.
Thank you. An executive session was held at 6:15 this evening, mostly legal items that we discussed at that area. Okay, at this time we'll move to personnel. We have items A through, where are we, J? Is there a motion to approve the personnel items?
Second.
Motion is second. Any discussion or questions? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Okay, we have one policy, Guitar Club. Is there a motion to approve the policy item?
Second.
Thank you. Any questions? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. And so ordered. I have nothing under conference. Curriculum and instruction, we have A and B, right? Yes, 2 items. Is there a motion to approve those items?
So moved.
Second.
Motion second. Discussion or questions? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. And so ordered. Anyone have any old business? If not, we have a couple of new business items there, A, B, and C. Is there a motion to approve new business?
So moved.
Second.
Who's the motion?
Me.
Thank you. Any questions on the new business items? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. And so ordered. On financial, if there be no objections, I would like to take out item I at this point in time. So we'll vote on A through H and J, K, and J and K. Yeah, that's it, right. So when we move item I, is there a motion to approve the other items under financial?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second. Any questions or discussion on those items? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And opposed, no. And so ordered. Okay, we're going to go back to item I now, and I think I'll turn it back over to Dr. Link.
Thank you, Mr. Green. So for item I, we're going to need to make a decision here so we can fill in the blanks in the agenda. What you see up on the screen is directly related to a decision that needs to be made for the field turf replacement in Bulldog Stadium. I'm going to show you 4 different renderings here and let you know the associated cost with each. We have with us this evening Mr. Matt Mooney from Keystone Sports Construction, who can answer any questions that you may have. And then, Mr. Mooney, I'm going to throw you a last-minute curveball because we may have one additional request, but it shouldn't change the pricing as explained.
Yep.
So we'll go through the renderings first. The first one is, you'll see that we have our Northern Lehigh logo in the middle with the NL and then the Bulldog overlay over that. And then from the last time we discussed this, it says Bulldogs in the end zone, blue end zones. We switched the lettering to white, so it's more, much more representative of our school district colors. There is a watermark on this one that says Northern Lehigh. Please note that if this is the selection of the board with the Northern Lehigh watermark, Northern will be fully spelled out and the last N will not be incorporated into the N in the logo. So it'll be a full Northern to the left and a full Lehigh to the right. This option here is at a cost of $507,167.69. However, administration is recommending that no matter which option we choose, you select the payment and performance bond to address any issues that would come out once the project starts. So then the total cost with the 1.5% added in for those bonds would be $514,776. So just kind of let that image hang there for a second or two. And now, Mr. Hawes, I'm going to ask you to go to the next one. The second option is the same thing, except the NL logo now does not have the Bulldog overlay. It's just the letters NL. It would still say Northern Lehigh as the watermark running the length of the field, and then Bulldogs in the end zone. The cost for this one is $488,639.42. However, if you add in the 1.5% bonds, it comes to $495,978, I believe. So here the difference is we're removing the Bulldog image. Because that removes a color in the color schemes, it actually is a reduction in cost.
Yep.
Okay. Okay, Mr. Hawes, if you can show the third option. This one here removes the Northern Lehigh watermark running the length of the field and instead inserts a large Bulldog, which takes up much of the playing field, and that is has the traditional Northern Lehigh logo in the center, so the NL with the Bulldog over it. So this kind of represents 2 of our different Bulldogs that we use in our kind of branding throughout the district, and still has the Bulldogs in the end zone. This price is the same as the first one, so $507,167.69. We're recommending the bonds go with it, so that would be $514,776. And then we have our fourth option, which again is very similar to the previous one, but it removes that Northern Lehigh Bulldog over the NL logo, and it's just the NL. So that one goes back to, if you do it with the bond, $495,970. So before I ask somebody to make a recommendation and then we discuss which option it would be, Mr. Mooney, I would like to ask if for any of those options up there, if in the end zone, or I'm sorry, on the ones where it's the large Bulldog,
Yep.
if on, say, the southern end zone, so the one to the left, if it could say Northern Lehigh in white lettering, and then Bulldogs in the northern end zone
Absolutely.
at the same pricing.
Yeah, absolutely, and no change in price for that.
Okay.
And swapping of that northern lake, the.
Oh, yes.
And
Yeah, okay, and then thank you, Mrs. Bilby, good memory. The other one is for where the NL is in the center there.
Yeah.
Could we make that white lettering with a blue outline instead of blue lettering with a white outline?
Yes.
Okay, same,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. So just flipping those colors.
Yeah, so we think it would pop a little bit more if the NL was white with a blue outline around the letters.
Yeah, absolutely. So we could make that change, no problem, and it would not impact the price.
Okay. So that being said, I'm going to open it up to school board members so we can fill in the first blank in this agenda item.
Can I see option 3 again?
And then that one, Mrs. Snyder, with the changes about Northern Lehigh in the end zone. And if the board would like to have that NL also be white with the Bulldog overlay, that would be with the bond, $514,776.
Yeah, so that would just change, that would change from blue to white.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yep. And in the end zone to the left,
Yeah,
Northern
yeah,
Lehigh.
yeah.
Yep.
Any changes, yes.
Can I make a motion? Or is there any more questions?
Well, so this will just be like the first half of the motion, because we still need to do the track. But I'm interested in what you have to say, Mr. Weber.
Well, then I'll wait on the track. I'll wait on the track.
Yeah. Okay, Eddie, I'm looking left now. Any other comments or anything else? Mrs. Snyder, any questions? You okay? Okay. How about on the right? Any questions down
My
here?
only thing with that is, I think the Bulldog was repetitive.
On
And
option 3?
on to option 3.
Yeah, I mean, I just see option 3.
Yeah.
I like 4.
I like the watermark, not so much both, not to mention that one Bulldog in the center is significantly more
I
money.
like 4.
I like the option 4.
4.
Yeah, I do
Agreed.
too.
Yes. With the white, and then Northern Lehigh on the one.
Yeah, I do too.
One end zone.
Quick question, if we put Northern Lehigh in the one end zone, I know this isn't the scale, but how will that look? Will it fit appropriately and?
So
It's a lot more letters.
we do have, I don't think Mr. Hawes has it, but we do have it where it has said Northern Lehigh. If you want to pass that down, and Mr. Hawes, if I can take them.
Yeah, I would kind of like to see how that would look.
Sure.
Just because I'm afraid it's going to look so cluttered on one
Yeah,
side. And
unbalanced.
then, right, and I'm back. I'm almost thinking.
I have these all in with Northern Lehigh as well, forwarded to you.
Yeah, so I'm going to pull that up right now and put it up on the screen.
We're gonna have to add out
Right.
So just bear with me 1 second here.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so it would look like that, except it would be white lettering.
Yeah.
On one side.
But the Northern Lehigh on one side, Bulldogs on the
Bulldogs
other.
on the
Right, right.
Be bigger font on the right side.
So the Bulldogs would be a different font size, likely. I mean, we could
Yeah.
work with the design team, I would imagine, to.
Yeah, exactly, so.
It would be spread out more, the
Yeah,
Bulldog
and
word.
you get to view on the shop drawings, you know, all final designs and just make sure it looked good.
Do you suggest that, having the two different font sizes, or how is that gonna work?
Actually, yeah, whatever, I mean, really, we can do either one, so whatever you guys want is really what we want to do, you know, so from our perspective, it's either or.
So the lettering is likely going to be different sizes in each end zone because you got more letters in the south end zone.
So in other words, should we try to keep them all the same size? Is that what you're thinking?
Bulldogs look too small then.
I'm almost feeling like maybe we should just keep bulldogs on the ends and leave the NL in the middle and, I mean.
Yeah, I agree.
It would feel lopsided, I think, if
I-
it
I-
was.
I don't think aesthetically it won't be good.
Right.
Everybody knows we're Northern Lehigh.
Right.
Even if it gets white, it's still going to be.
Feels like we couldn't choose.
Yeah.
We put them both
So we
on.
put them both. Yeah.
Just leave
Yeah, I agree with that.
I still want blue and white stripes, I'm not gonna vote for it.
No, no. I think you're gonna lose that vote, Matt.
We'll all be like
Oh, my God.
people would running. Can we go back to the Bulldogs with the?
Sure, I'm gonna
Option 4.
I'm gonna have to log out here and let Steve take control again. So like that.
Yeah.
That's much cleaner, yeah.
Yeah.
I think more
That's
aesthetic.
who we are.
Yeah. I like that.
White, blue instead of blue,
Can
white
I-
or whatever.
I
followed it up when we talked about it today. The scoreboard's gotta have Northern Lehigh on
Correct.
it.
Yeah.
Or the scoreboard's gotta have Bulldogs on it. Scoreboard's
That watermark's gonna look fantastic.
correct. That's right.
I like the watermark.
So what, I think what I'm hearing is this design, but a white NL in the center.
Correct.
Yes.
And bulldogs in the end zone.
Yes. Which will make everyone that was upset with me.
Okay.
So that should be this price, right?
I'm gonna be presumptuous
Yep,
and say, when we
$495
make
with
a
that.
motion at this
Yep,
point,
$969
It's going to say option
970.
4, the 495, what is it, 971?
78.
78, I'm sorry, thank you.
397.
Okay, that's what the motion is gonna say, just so everybody understands that.
Can I-
And if you're comfortable with that, fine, if not, then we'll have more discussion, but,
So
now, you wanna do part 2?
Are you comfortable with that number?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
970.
$8, yeah, it's 970.
Okay.
Should be 495, 970.
It's actually 970, yeah. My
970.
Yeah, my 8 looked like a 0, I apologize.
That's
Vice
okay.
versa. Okay,
495, 970.
correct.
Correct.
And that includes the bond portal. Okay. So then, the next blank that we will need to fill in has to do with the track. The base price for the track is $348,258.82. If we bundle the track and the turf together, we actually get a deduct, a significant discount of $11,531.55. Administration strongly recommends that you bundle these two projects together. So with the deduct, the cost goes to $336,728.
No, wait, what was that for, the track?
For the track.
Say that again, please,
So if you bundle the two projects together,
Yep.
the cost of the track is $336,728.
Okay.
Part of that contract is an option to also add in the bond protection at 1.5%, which comes out to $5,051. Administration is recommending that you also add the bond protection for the track, which would bring the track price with the bond protection and also the discount to $341,779.
341.
779.
Correct. So we're recommending that you bundle it together and add in the bond protection for the track as well.
Okay, let's have discussion on the track. Anyone? Any questions? Looking left, any thoughts?
No,
ideas?
I think we,
it
I think
needs to be done.
it needs to be done, and we might as well get the discount, you know, while we can, and they can stage the
Yeah, we can.
process.
Exactly, we can do it together.
Right,
It's really
doing
big
it
bang.
all at one time will save time, I think, but also the equipment's here just once, so that should be helpful too.
And we will get it done prior to we'll get them both done
Prior to
the
school.
August 1 acclimation.
Sounds good.
Oh, that's terrific.
What was the date again? You said August?
So our goal would be, is if we started, say, right after graduation in mid-June, then our goal certainly would be to be done before August 1. And not
So is my
before the
math
acclimation.
correct? 837, 769?
Yep.
769.
Okay, is everybody comfortable with the numbers at this
837,
point?
749, is that what you got?
Yep.
49.
Now, this includes an 8-year warranty and 10-year maintenance, correct?
Correct. It includes 8-year warranty, on-site warranty, and then it includes a 10-year maintenance, of which the first 2 years are free. And then for the remaining 8 years, it's locked in at our current maintenance cost, which is approximately $3,400, which is already discounted to where it's at, honestly, for other districts. So we would have it locked in for 8 years at the current cost for maintenance, which is 2 full services a year plus annual concussion testing.
Can't we get that for free?
I tried, sir.
tried.
What?
It's good.
That would make me vote for it if you gave us that for free.
It's really good.
It really would. And even if you didn't do blue and white, I'd still vote for it.
And just to be clear, this is going to come out of the fund balance that we have?
So
that
it
is
would
part
actually-
of capital reserves?
Capital reserve,
Okay.
correct.
That's what-
Correct. Next month, there'll be a motion on, to move $3 million out of fund balance over into the capital reserve project to pay
So
for
it
these.
would not affect us, it's pushed off to next year.
Right, it won't affect next year's budget.
Budgets, yeah.
Right.
Hey, Matt, I just want to say, hearing what we did about previous jobs that this company has done, I know we're not familiar with this company, but I feel really comfortable based on what we had heard tonight as far as how they have done another district and how the work went. So I'm looking forward to that.
Well, yeah, we appreciate that. We work hard to exceed expectations and, we appreciate the opportunity and are confident we will, for sure.
And I think for
It's
anybody,
gonna be a showcase.
anyone listening that wasn't in our previous meetings, that we did talk to some of the other districts that they have worked with, and they had very high things to say about your company, including Danville, which I have a friend who works there. So,
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
We'd love to hear it.
Only we get rid of that 3,400.
Can I make a motion?
Yes, do you want to fill in the numbers?
Sure.
Oh, Either way,
I'd
go
like to
ahead.
make a motion that we select option 4, bundling the turf replacement with the track, with the bulldog at either end, with a white NL in the middle, with the blue outline, going with Keystone Sports Construction.
And that would be at a cost,
With
Tim,
a
of
cost
$490.
of $495,970 for the field and $779 for the track.
For the track. Okay. Everybody understand that motion?
Yes.
Okay, is there a second for that?
I'll second it.
Second, thank you. Any further discussion on that? Hearing none, those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, no? Okay, I'll vote yes. Damn, you drive a hard bargain. Okay, where were we? I think we're down to legal, is that correct?
Yes.
Is that where we were? Thank you.
What do you need to do, Jen?
I have nothing under legal or correspondence.
Nothing.
Nothing? Couple information items. Okay, I would also like to announce at this time that on, I should have picked out the date. What is that date in February?
February 2nd.
February 2nd, okay. On February 2nd, preceding the committee meetings, we will have an executive session beginning at 5 o'clock, where we will do the superintendent's annual contract, or semi-annual, mid-year contract and performance review.
Evaluation, sir.
Call evaluation, okay, we could call it that, superintendent's evaluation. And performance review, no, I can't do that. Okay, so that will be beginning at 5 o'clock. Hopefully, we will complete that by 5:30, so we can start the meeting on time, but we will be doing that at 5 o'clock. Okay. all okay on that?
Not rushing things, but I move to adjourn.
All right?
Any guests?
No, we'll do that. Any guests want to be heard? They all got tired and went home? No guests? Okay, thank you. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Yes, there is.
Second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
We're done here. Yay, we need 9:30.
Thank you, everyone.